Double busy, getting busy, do. Yo, what's up? It's me, the double busy. Alright, we're back for some more Dwarf Fortress, continuing the legend of Tuto Rial after the collapse of our previous fortress. But this time, I'm going to show you how a noob approaches preparing carefully. So we're going to create a new world, and use all the standard stuff again, and I'll come back and show you what I've found once the world generates and I do some searching around. And in the age of myth, with 100 years under our belts, we have some history generated and a world. And already I'm seeing a volcano over here and some mountains and some dwarves, so I might just go ahead and go for that volcano. Let's take a look around at our map. In the north we have the cold areas. As we get to the middle, of course, the scorching tropical jungles and deserts and grasslands and badlands. And to the south, some more polar regions, kind of a blank little island down here. Some dwarves in the mountain ranges in the middle, a little bit of a sea separating the two continents. Just looking around, kind of dry over here, but we got some mountains and dwarves. Whoa, that's a lot of sinister goblin area right there. Alright, let's go ahead and play now. Okay, so one of the things you can do first is find Embark location, and if you want to find something kind of like the tutorial gives you, what you can do is look for a medium temperature. You want to look for flux layer. You'll need that to make steel. You want no aquifers, light or heavy. You do want some river. That includes brooks. Soil, you want less than or equal to deep. So that means deep and everything less than that. If you want clay for pottery and stuff, you can put yes, but I don't really care about that, as far as I know. Sand, I'm just going to ignore. Iron, you do want to be able to make steel. Everything else I just ignore. Those are the important things to me. So when you click on begin, it'll start at the top left and work its way down in these columns. And then when you get a blue box, or I'm sorry, a green box, that means that somewhere inside there is a matching requirement. Now, as this is searching, you can right click and you should be able to zoom in and see things. So you can see that area right there, that area, and that area. If you do a 4x4 embark on that spot, you'll get all the stuff you wanted. Looking at this, however, I can already tell that's going to be kind of sparse. There's probably not going to be a lot of trees, so we'll have to wait and see how this pans out towards the end. But you can move around. You can... What happened? Oh, it accidentally stopped. So let's go ahead and zoom in here and see. It doesn't show anything in here, and as you notice, there's no trees anywhere. So if you embark on this area, you'll get no trees. That would be pretty bad. For a noob like me. I need trees to build beds. Or you can embark with wood. Oh, see, it's still scanning. You could put a bunch of wood on your embark, build the beds with that, and kind of hope to get wood through trade, I guess, in the future. So I'm going to avoid that for now. Okay, let it finish scanning, and then we'll see what it looks like. Alright, let's take a look at what we have here. We have some spots out here in the sand. Basically looks like a flood plain or a delta to me. Some grasslands, which can have sparse trees, and the mountains have none. A little spot over here along the edge of the badlands and the wastelands. Up here to the north, there's plenty of area, but you've got a dwarven tower and some goblins. So if you're into that sort of fun, you could pick a place in there. I personally have a hard enough time just figuring out what's going on, so I'm not going to do that. And everywhere across the world, there's really not much that matches. In this area, it's scorching, so that's going to be so hot that water's going to dry up, and I don't really know how to deal with that yet. So I'm going to go ahead and go down here, and as you can see, we have some human settlements there. When you hover over, it says elves, 2 days travel southwest, so the elves here can get to me and trade. And then you want to kind of be along like the edge of a forest with some mountains and a little brook. Now notice when you hover over these, it says trees none in all of this mountainous area, but then it's heavily forested. So when you embark, you don't have to be on that 4x4 and get very few trees in the corner. You can kind of move down a little bit and get something different. And as you hover over, you see there's some soil and sand in the tree areas in the conifer forest, and then there's basically nothing in the mountain area. So if you want soil and sand for growing, you're going to have to be along the edge of a little of both. I'm looking in this little area and noticing I have mountains, brook, and trees. If I go too far south, I'll get into an aquifer, a light aquifer, That's not too bad. Another tool you can use is show elevation, so you can see the elevation is getting lower as we move to the southwest, and show cliffs and grades. This is a nice little tool if you want to purposefully get mist from a waterfall. So there's going to be a waterfall there, and over here as well. And you can see there's a river, or here there's a brook. So those are going to give you waterfalls. That's the beginning. There won't be a waterfall, but there will be one there or over there. I'm going to go ahead and embark in such a way that I'm going to get just a little bit of this forest, and I'm going to get that river kind of running through the middle, and therefore in the top left of our screen or our map is going to be the mountainous area where we're going to dig to get all the iron and the flux stones, and then there's going to be a river, and there should be some soil to grow on as well. So I'm going to go just about like that. Confirm. Okay, now I'm going to show you how I prepare carefully. You'll notice here it says prepare using a saved Embark profile. So if you get a set of dwarves that you like and you prepare carefully, you can keep clicking on that and using it, and it takes you to the prepare menu so you can change things too. So you can kind of set yourself up with like a template that you like to use. I don't want to use that though because it's going to use the same dwarves that I used last time, and I want to be a little bit surprised this time and be able to talk you guys through how I prepare. If you saw my very first Dwarf Fortress video, you know I believe highly in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which basically led me to this idea of using the compass directions for nutrition, shelter, equipment, and exploring the world. And so I think the must-haves are in order like this: manager, bookkeeper, expedition leader, and broker. And I kind of put these over here in the noble administrative duties. I think manager is most important because they have to manage the workload. Bookkeeper, you have to know how much stuff you have, especially early in the game. Expedition leader has to make people happy when they want to complain. And then the broker you use only wants to do some trading. And we're going to generate so much stuff to trade that it doesn't really matter as much. You just have to fill that spot. Planter, you want somebody to do a good job planting so that you have plenty of crops, both for eating and for brewing. You do want a fisher. I know a lot of people complain about fishers, but at the end of the day, you want fish to cook up and eat. And a woodcutter, so you can chop some wood and get plenty of logs to build all the stuff you're going to build. Other than those, I think the things you want to add on, I like to start the game with an Axedwarf and maybe give them shield user if I can, just so that I have somebody to fight in case something shows up early. And then I think all these things are necessary in order. Weaponsmith, because eventually you're going to want to really start making your steel weapons. A brewer, you want somebody to make good ale for your dwarves. Armorer, somebody to make more shields. A miner, people are going to pick that up as they go, but it would be nice to make at least one person have some decent mining skill. Gatherer, same thing. Most of your dwarves are going to pick up that skill in autumn, but it's nice if somebody is a little bit better than the others, especially if that person is like the planter or the cook. A cook would be nice to have a little bit of skill just to make better meals. And then a stonecrafter, bone carver, and gem cutter. If you have extra skills left over, put stuff into that. Makes all of your crafts more valuable, and then you'll be able to trade for even more when the first trade caravan comes. Everything else you're going to acquire as you play. You might be thinking, well, what about a carpenter? They're going to build beds. The beds are going to be pretty decent quality. People will sleep in them, no big deal. Same for the stone carver and all the furniture they make. Same for stone cutters. You're not going to be smoothing stuff out very much in the early game unless you're building your defenses already, but you don't want to be doing that for value or for engraving yet. You want to get all your weapons made first and be able to defend yourself, or be able to build some bridges and close yourself in. You might even think herbalist. Well, people are going to pick that up as they're gathering. So maybe your one gatherer has like novice skill, or maybe they have competent skill, and maybe give them a little bit of herbalist also. But everything else you're going to acquire along the way. As I said, my first important position, I think, is manager, and some relevant skills for the manager are being an administrator, an organizer, and a consoler and a pacifier. And the soul skills that come along with that are empathy, linguistic ability, and social awareness, as you can see, with a little bit of analytical ability. And it just so happens that dwarves who are good speakers use those same things: linguistic ability, empathy, and social awareness. So if you click on the view button for each of your dwarves, go into skills, and look at social, it'll tell you how good of a speaker they are. So, looking in Skills Social, we can see that Saxel is a competent speaker, which is a little bit better than adequate speaker. And then Katten, we don't know because it's blank, and I don't know why that is. But in their overview, you can see that Captain has a good memory, is a flatterer, and has good analytical ability. So they've got the social and the analyzing. But Saxel is scatterbrained and has an iffy memory. So in the interest of combining the bookkeeper as well as the manager, I'm going to go ahead and go with Captain because I like to combine those things into one person's job, so I only have to build one office in the beginning. So for the manager, we want organizer, consoler, and pacifier. So over here, we're going to go find organizer, pacifier, there's consoler, and pacifier. Is that right? Organizer, consoler, pacifier, organizer, consoler, pacifier. And then I'll be able to put more skills in once I've kind of marked that and I can see where it is. Oh. We also need that analytical ability. No, never mind that. That's the organizer. As far as the bookkeeper goes, the wiki's a little light. They just say record keeper. And according to record keeper, it looks like you need someone that has kind of a good memory. Analytical ability, so that ties in with the manager, memory, and focus. And so our little dwarf Captain over here, she has good memory and has that analytical ability. So let's go ahead and find record keeper right there. Okay, so Captain is able to do all of those and will be able to be our administrator. Now I'm going to do the other jobs, now I'm going to do the other jobs, and depending on how many skills I have left at the end, then I'll bump these up to be even more skillful. Okay, now personally, I think Expedition Leader is the most difficult position to fill, mainly because it has so many skills. But if you look at these skills, it's all back to that same stuff: linguistic ability, empathy, and social awareness, which all comes back to being a speaker. So, Sarvesh, nothing particularly helpful here. Skills, social, just adequate? Meh, okay. Saxel is frail, tolerant, scatterbrained, has a little bit of competent speaker, but when you go into personality, I just don't see it there. You know, disgusted by romance, dislikes cooperation, doesn't really respect commerce, doesn't value loyalty. I don't want that to be my leader. Captain does have all those things, so she might end up being our jack of all trades. Locum, poor empathy. Empathy is super important because that's in every single one of these skills over here. So sorry, Locum, you're not our expedition leader. Shem doesn't like truth. Where is it? Poor focus. Oh, here we go. Personally sees lying as an important means to an end. I don't think we want our expedition leader to feel that way. Tirist. What do we have here? Disdains friendship. Not dutiful. What's the personality? Bad intuition. Values, put off by the idea of friends. Again, not really a good expedition leader. Social skills, I don't know what he is as far as a speaker. And Zuglar, again, poor empathy. So I think we're going to go ahead and make Captain our jack-of-all administrator. Captain is already a consoler and pacifier, so we can come over and make her comedian, conversationalist, flatterer. And I'm going to skip liar because those are kind of like opposite from each other as far as here's honesty and liar versus honesty and consoler. I'd rather have a honest consoler than a dishonest social broker. So comedian, conversationalist, flatterer. Comedian, conversationalist, flatterer. Notice that they're all kind of close to each other. And I only have 3 skills left. I need 4 more, but I only have 3 left. So I'm going to go ahead and go for Judge of Intent, Negotiator, and Persuader. Rather than intimidate my dwarves into doing their job, she's going to flatter and console and make them feel good about themselves. So Judge of Intent, Negotiator, Persuader. Judge of Intent. Where did it go? There they are. Negotiator and Persuader. And that's all 10 skills for Captain. So she is our administrator of all. The final administrative and noble position is the broker. And you can see in the relevant skills, a lot of these are the same that we just saw. Pacifiers, persuaders, comedians, flatterers, but the really, really important ones, Judge of Intent and Appraiser, being able to appraise the value and judge the intent of the person trading with us whether or not they actually want to make that trade. So Judge of Intent and Appraiser. Now, what are the soul skills or the soul traits behind that? Well, I found this helpful article about attributes, and if you go all the way to the bottom, skills by associated attribute, they'll tell you the skill and what attributes match up with it. So let's go find those. And right down here, we can see Judge of Intent and Appraiser with each other. Here's that social awareness and empathy, memory, intuition is now a new one, and some analytical ability. So analytical, intuition, memory, empathy, and social awareness. Pretty similar to the other administrative duties, but this time we need a little bit of intuition. There might also be a little bit of negotiator in there, although we're the ones clicking the buttons and deciding the final offer. So just note that there's empathy and social awareness again, and linguistic ability again. So that's back to that speaker ability or role. So Sarvesh doesn't really have any pluses or negatives related to broker, so we're not going to bother there. Saxel, scatterbrain for memory. Almost considered giving Katten that job as well, but if you look at her personality, she has bad intuition, and I think we need some intuition to be able to analyze the value of the trades and whether or not that other person's going to want to trade with us. Locum, poor memory. Where is it? Shim and Tirist are kind of like the two choices, and then Zuglar has poor memory too. Now, given the two, I would rather have the weak person go off and do the trading so that the strong person can still stay behind and keep mining and doing jobs and work. So let's look at Shim. Shim is his personality. Good intuition, away with words, that's good. Patience, poor focus, that doesn't matter for the trading. Privacy, doing things correctly. Harmonious, handling stress, doesn't care about ambitiousness, nervous and humble. Values, lying is a means to an end, I guess you could use that in trading. Valuing romance, and doesn't care about family. So, Shin is going to become our broker. So for our broker, we need Appraiser and Judge of Intent. Just in case, I'll give Shin Negotiator also. The next roles and skills I think are important are Planter, strength, agility, endurance, and some kinesthetic sense, like knowing how far to plant things and having control of your own body while you're doing that job. Fisher, strength and agility again, but really focus and patience, so that's a special one we'll have to look for. Woodcutter, willpower and spatial sense, not just kinesthetic. So the willpower to keep working and the spatial sense to know like where to cut and where the tree's going to fall and that sort of stuff. And then Axedwarf. Let's go down and find Axedwarf. Oh, I'm sorry, Axeman. So strength, agility, toughness, creativity, I'm not really sure why, but spatial and kinesthetic. So out of all of those, you don't want your woodcutter to also be your axe dwarf because there's issues with trying to make sure they're holding the right axe, doing the right job. So I want to make sure I'm going to have two separate people doing that. And then for the fisher, you want somebody who has focus and patience. Right off the bat, I'm noticing that Sarvesh has high willpower and spatial sense. Now, unfortunately, in this screen, you cannot get a description of their health, but she has low stamina, so I don't want her out there fighting as an axe dwarf. So I'll go ahead and make her the woodcutter. Since we know who our woodcutter is, we can think about who our axe dwarf is going to be. Saxel is frail. I don't think that sounds good. Katten is going to be busy. Locum is clumsy. Shim is weak. Tirst is strong, a little bit clumsy, but has high kinesthetic sense. And Zugalar recovers slowly. Doesn't really sound like right. Well, oh, this person might be the right person too. While Zugalar seems to have no real skills and would be good cannon fodder, dude's 81 years old. So I think we're going to go with Tirst as our axe dwarf in combat, and then we'll go ahead and also give him shield user and let everything else come with training. In looking for patience and focus, Sarvesh, our woodcutter, is patient. Tirst, our axe dwarf, I believe could kind of fit along in that. Where were the values? Well, could do the physical part of it, but I'd rather have like fish coming in constantly. And then there was somebody else has a sum of patience with poor focus. So our trader has the patience but not the focus to do the fishing. So let's go ahead and make our woodcutter the fisher. Turns out we were good here because values utterly repellent against war. So luckily we did not make her our Axedwarf. That's a good thing. And so we'll go ahead and make that our fisher dwarf. And then the idea there is she'll be fishing constantly, and then when she's not fishing, we'll give her orders to chop down a tree and then go back to fishing. So that should be good. Now, planter doesn't need any specific skills other than just physically being able to plant, really. So I'm going to go ahead and look around for armor, weaponsmith, armorer. You need some creativity there. And looking through everybody's personalities and traits, we don't really have very many creative dwarves, but we do have this perfectionist, who is currently our trader. Right? So let's go back into other, judge of intent, appraiser, and negotiator. So in the meantime, since that's only like once, maybe twice a year, being a perfectionist might help. Tries to do things correctly each time, can handle stress, isn't ambitious, but values mastering a skill. So let's go ahead and make Shim that person. Can make Shim our weaponsmith and our armorsmith. Looking at Saxel, he is frail. He has good analytical ability, sharp willpower, but iffy memory. So, the analytical ability would be good for gem cutting and cooking. The iffy memory means not a gatherer, and the willpower is you can go ahead and do some mining. So, does that all mesh up? Let's see. Yeah, that's pretty decent. Even though he is frail, he can be a miner who also cuts some gems on occasion and cooks some food on occasion. That'll be pretty good. Alright, narrowing some things down here. So our Axedwarf is going to go ahead and become our gatherer or our herbalist. And where is that? Here we go. Here's herbalist. Since everybody else, Locum, poor memory, and Zuglar, poor memory, and you need memory to know where to go gather things. So we'll go ahead and do that. That'll be our herbalist and Axedwarf. And we'll just make sure to line up the training so that the first month of autumn is enabled for gathering all the fruits and nuts that drop on the ground, and then training the month after that, or the month before that. That means we'll go ahead and make Shim, our metalsmith, also our crafter. So since Shim is already doing weapons and armor, and also doing all the trading, we might as well make this person the stone crafter and the bone crafter. So stone, bone carver, and that's pretty good. Now the more I look at it, I'm going to change that a little bit because our last two peasants here, little willpower and little willpower, and that's necessary for mining. So I don't want my two people, quote unquote, dedicated to mining having little willpower. So I'm going to go ahead and go back and change that. Alright, it's tough choosing these last ones considering how Locum's clumsy with the poor memory and poor empathy, and Zuglar, woof, what skills do you have, Zuglar? But at least, looking at things, she acts with little determination, doesn't have a great aesthetic sensitivity. That's kind of rough. So I'm going to say that Locum is going to do our brewing and our planting. So let's go ahead and go find that. Crucial. Oh, there's planter. And I think labor is brewer. I'll go find that. There's brewer right underneath planter. That means Locum becomes kind of like our farmer. And so Zuglar can become our stone crafter and bone carver. And hopefully that'll teach you some skills. And now that we have all those things in place, we can go ahead and finish spending our final skills. Now, Sarvesh is our woodcutter and fisher, so he's not going to have a lot of time for mining. Saxel already has a minor skill. Catton is doing all the administration. We can't give any more skills. Locum is the farmer. Yeah, you're going to have to do a little bit of mining. So in the crucial, even though you don't have willpower, which is something that we do need, oh well, that's what we're going to have to do. And eventually other people will mine too. Like when the administrator's not doing jobs, they'll just go pick up mining on their own time and hopefully pick up that skill. Shem is going to be doing too much in terms of making weapons and armor and being the broker. Terrorist is going to be busy gathering and training every other month. And so Zuglar, Craftsdwarf, you're also going to have to do a little bit of mining sometimes. And then the others will pick up mining as they go. Okay, now let's go ahead and max out skills. Sarvesh is the Woodcutter and Fisher Dwarf, so 4 more in there, 4 more in there, and we are good. Saxel is our Miner, Gem Cutter, and Cook, so let's go ahead and give 2 more skills to Cook, 2 more skills to Gem Cutter, and then the rest to mining, so at least we have one person that's a really good miner. Locum is our planter and brewer with a little bit of mining, and since we have 7 points, we'll go ahead and do 3 in plant. Did I do that right? 3 in planting, 3 in brewing, and 1 more in mining just to make it a little bit better. Shim is our weaponsmith, armorsmith, and broker. So let's go make sure that the weapons and armorsmithing are really good. Putting 2 points in weaponsmith, 2 more in armorsmith. And what should I do with my last point? Since it's going to be a little bit before we get enough metal and all the stuff like flux and fuel to make all this weapons and armor, we'll go ahead and make you a novice miner. Okay, Tirist is the herbalist or gatherer, but also the axe or shield dwarf. So let's go ahead and go over here to combat. Let's give 2 more to axe, 2 more to shield, 2 more to herbalist, and then let's see, what do we want to do from there? Let's go ahead and give it to axe, just for the chance of surviving. A skilled Axedwarf. Zuglar. Zuglar is our crafter and also has 1 in mining. So let's go ahead and give you 3 in crafting, 3 in bone, and 1 more to mining. And there we go. Everybody has all their skills filled in. Something I think is super easy is choosing your animals. I basically choose a male and female dog, a male and a female cat. So guard dogs, war dogs eventually. Cats are going to protect all our stores from vermin. If I have enough points left over at the end, I might get extra cats so I can do a farming level and like a food level, 2 different levels, so they can be able to breed. Turkeys, I choose. They're the biggest and lay the most eggs out of the birds, so that's going to be the most food. And then when it comes to other animals, the only other thing I consider is milkable and shearable. I want it to be shearable so I can do cloth. So that basically comes down to llamas, alpacas, and sheep. I believe sheep are the smallest, but they also require the least amount of space. Llamas are the biggest in terms of like if you slaughter them, you'll get the most food out of them, but they also require a little more space. Basically a 4x4 for each llama, 3x3 for each sheep, and then somewhere in between is the alpaca. So I'm going to go, let's see, they're all 51 points. Llamas are, 100 points. Interesting. So llamas are 100 points, alpacas are 100 points, and sheep are only 50. So in that case, I'm going to go ahead and go for sheep because they're smaller, take up less space. I can still shear them and milk them, but I save more points that way. And then the big stuff, the items. And so I'll choose items, and if I have any left over, I'll come back and get more sheep or more cats. Okay, let's talk through the easy stuff for cloth. So pigtail cloth, I'm not going to be making anything out of cloth anytime soon. Seeds, I want more plump helmet spawns, because I'm probably going to do either a 3x3 or a 4x4. Pigtail seeds, yeah, I might do some pigtails. It might be in the 3x3. Cave wheat, yes. Sweet pods, yes. All of these are different types of ales and rums and beers. Rock nuts, yes. Dimple cups, I don't care about, so I get rid of those. Maybe 1 copper battle axe just to use for chopping down trees. And so that means I'm going to want the steel. Oh, where is it? Weapons. Let's go find weapons. Steel. Why does it keep doing this? Weapons, silver battle axe, no. Here we go, steel battle axe. That's what I want to give to my Axedwarf, which means I also want to look in armor, or is it shields? It won't let me get the shield yet because I don't have enough points, so I'm going to have to get rid of some more stuff. Meat, honestly, you don't need a lot of meat. There's going to be, how should I say it? You're going to have the animals that embark and pull your caravan. Now, beer, wine, rum, and dwarven ale, is it? I'm going to have some dwarven ale, and that's going to help me save on barrels. I'll have an extra barrel eventually. I don't care too much about fish either, because I'm basically going to do a lot of fishing, so I'm just going to get rid of all that. Well, I can get one more fish. That'll give me another barrel, right? So, let's go look in fish, and we'll have a cave fish. There you go. Happy? 15 plump helmets. Yes, I need those. So that's where I made... Yeah, plump helmets. We'll get about 10 of those. We'll have some food. Pigtail bags. Yes, I want extra bags to handle some seeds and things. Pigtail thread. I'm not going to be making anything. I only need one rope. I'll have one quiver just in case. I'll keep 2 buckets for milking. The quiver, I might have a Axedwarf at some time in the future. 1 splint, 1 crutch in case somebody gets hurt. I don't use a step ladder, I just gather off the ground, and that's a big 50 points right there. So now, there's the 423 I can use to go get a shield. A steel shield. And I still have 123 points left. Now, unfortunately, that's not enough points to get a second steel axe, so I'm going to have my steel axe is going to be assigned to my Axedwarf, while the copper one's going to be for woodcutting. In that case, I'm going to use some points to get some more picks. I'm going to go 4 so I can do some really fast mining. And then I'm going to think about how I'm going to spend the rest of my 83 points. I almost forgot another way to save some big points. These 5 pigtail bags are 20. Go switch it out for cave spider silk or for one of these cheap leather kind of bags. Squirrel leather bag. Moose leather. Hey, there you go. I kind of like the idea of moose leather. So I'll go ahead and keep figuring out what I'm going to buy. Now I still have 64 points. And animals, I went ahead and upped it to another female ewe, another turkey hen. I think I'm going to go ahead and get an extra cat of each, just in case, because sometimes my farms and my food with a dining hall are on separate levels. Alright, there we go. So I got 9 of each of the seeds to do some 3x3s. Of course, plump helmet spawns will be the most. So some of these don't do every season. So on the off season, they'll do plump helmet spawns also. Got the steel battle axe, 4 picks, the steel shield. Ended up with 16 of each kind of booze. A little bit of meat, a little bit of fish. Maxed out the plump helmets. Got a quarry bush leaf just to remind myself that that's what we're getting, although 10 points is pretty expensive. Downgraded to cheaper bags, got rid of the ropes, quivers, and all the extra stuff we didn't need. And there we go. And now I'm able to have 2 females to milk, 2 turkey hens to lay eggs, and 2 cats of each just in case. Okay, that's where I would save my profile as prepare carefully. Overwrite the old one, and now we can embark. And here is our embark location. So you can see the whole southern end of the map is trees. You can see there is a brook running through here. It's not exactly a waterfall. There's a little bit of a drop right there of a couple spaces, but nothing that's going to create a mist, so I'm not too worried about that. Now, you could see that there's some pretty good flat sections as it goes up into the hill to the top left. So that's where a lot of our minerals and things are going to be. And no trees up in that area. So all the trees and wood are going to have to come from down here. Persimmons, bayberries, some good stuff. But if you notice, when you go right here, you have rough-hewn microcline, hematite, dolomite. So all the stuff up here is stone, not very much soil or earth. Same problem down here. Now we're starting to see some loam. So This level is going to be where all the loam is for all the farming indoors. There's some on this side too, but I want to be close to the river for fishing. Now I can either have a door down here so the fishermen can get out and fish right here. I like to have everything all on the same level so I can see what's going on at all times. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to have a 3-wide entrance coming into a trade depot, a 1-wide entrance that's going to come in, and I'm going to have farming and all this stuff to do with animals here. And I'll just dig out a little spot next to the river with a door, or actually a drawbridge, and I'll make that my little fishing area. We'll have crafting right next to this so they can just trade, and I'll have a little hallway in between with another drawbridge. So everything will be cut off from each other from drawbridges. And then what I'll do is somewhere over here on this side of the map, I'll dig a tunnel, and it'll come in all the way across here and zigzag back and forth with all kinds of traps and stuff for when the goblins come to visit. That's my general idea. Downstairs, I'll go ahead and have sleeping, and the further down you get, like the better the accommodations will be, or we'll have like shrines for praying and that kind of stuff. But this level will be most of the work and everything that's going on. And I'll be able to center it right about here. I'll be able to see most of all the workshops and things going on, the fishing, and anybody coming in and out to gather or to cut wood. Here's all of our dwarves. I'm going to go ahead and follow or watch Sarvesh for a little bit, and we'll watch them move everything and start digging. So here we go. Where's she going first? Fish. What? All the way up there to fish? Oh boy. Okay. Immediately, I'm already having to start to fix stuff. I'm going to have to set a fishing zone because I don't want those two fishing. So let's go back home, and we'll set a fishing zone down over here closer. So right away we've got a little 7x7 space for a 5x5 trade depot, a stockpile to dump all of our stuff temporarily, a pen or pasture set up for the cats to go in there and protect all the food from vermin, another one for the guard dogs at the entrance, and this one for all the rest of the grazers to move all the animals to safety. Now, in order to make sure that our steel axe gets into the hands of Tirist, our Axedwarf, who now leads the Axe of Sacrifice, we had to go into administration and appoint him militia commander to be able to do a squall. And we also had to go into the labors and turn off woodcutting. And so now I'm going to have to watch him and make sure that he actually equips that axe, and then I'll turn the woodcutting back on so the woodcutter grabs the copper axe. Lastly, I had to set him up for staggered training, where no orders is actually equip no orders, make sure he's equipped, sleeping in any room at will, and then training, make sure that it's set for at least one to train because there's only one of them, and always equipped. So hopefully he'll always equip his gear and only train every other month. And then that lines up nicely with the winter. 2 out of the 3 months is training instead of working, and the very first month of fall, when all the stuff falls in the ground and becomes a gatherer, he'll be out gathering. Okay, and a minute later, Tirist does have both the steel battle axe and the steel shield, so now I can go back into labors, turn on the wood cutting for Sarvesh. I'm going to leave fishing off for now, and I'm going to test it out with cutting a tree. Now, as you can see, there are trees everywhere, and they're basically either bayberry or persimmons. So what I do is I zoom up Z levels, and I look for the tallest tree, and this one looks like a big giant. So cutting that tree should give me plenty of logs. Go down to the bottom level and designate that tree to be cut. And then, hopefully our woodcutter, Sarvesh, goes and gets the copper axe and cuts that tree. So let's go ahead and follow Sarvesh. And is that the copper battle axe? Yes, it is. Good job. Oh, but she's storing items in stockpile. That's a little important to her right now, yes. Here, let's do this. Let's make the tree chopping a priority one. And that's a decent amount of logs, I guess. Okay, there was just a bag of plump helmet spawns and 2 logs, and all the dwarves came back doing their jobs. I was like, what's going on? They filled all that up. So I'll go ahead and make my first farm, start building workshops, and really start playing the game. Alright, I think that's a good place to stop. Thank you very much for checking it out. Double busy, getting busy,